For the second portion of this, we're gonna obviously go into some of his weaknesses, because you got to know the type of player that you're playing with, and that you're inserting into your offensive scheme. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, it's he holds the ball for a while, and some of that is built into the offense and him wanting to push the ball downfield. And but we talked about his height. Some of that has to do with that as well. So there's some good and some bad to his height. And yes, he knows how to throw with his being lower in stature, but there are some bad things that it does show up bad too. So you'll see him holding the ball, which hurts his field of vision when he wants to push it down the field. There are times where you're going to see that come up on tape too. He reads high to low. Again, Lincoln Riley's offense is very aggressive. They want to stretch you horizontally. They want to stretch you vertically. And you'll see him read a lot of high to low, where he could just take that short pass when that deep pass isn't there initially as your primary read, but he fails to take it. So, and that comes up a lot versus when they throw pressure at him. And then finally, there's a lot of perfect play calls. We saw a bunch of them there in his strengths, and a lot of plays where they're up at the line of scrimmage, the clock's running, and Lincoln Riley's give him a new play call because of what the defense is showing. And so that does tend to hurt him a little bit from pre to post snap. Sometimes he'll get locked in, to Mark Andrews. Sometimes he'll get too locked in on a deep pass and he'll miss some of the stuff below, or it'll just be too long of a process mentally processing the play. And obviously some negative things happen. So we'll get to some of that film right now. The height. So he holds the ball a little too long on this play, in my opinion, Nate. And you see the play action fake, and it's a two-man route coming from left to right. But you'll see right about here, he takes his hand off the ball, gives that little pump fake like he wants to throw it. But he's worried about these defenders right here. He's worried about this guy, probably even a little worried about this guy jumping up at that moment to make this throw. You probably should make the throw right before that guy jumped up. And I think if he does, there's enough separation here on the back end that Andrews would be able to separate here.
And what makes this a really difficult throw, in my opinion, is that's not a ball that you can throw vertically. You can't let him get upfield, because I think it becomes more easily defendable. That underneath guy can maybe come underneath and intercept that ball. So that becomes a really difficult. You're right about the timing. It should have been thrown with a little bit more of anticipation, with a level 2 ball that was going to really lead him to the right. I think he lets his guy get caught up to. But again, I think throwing this vertically, if he was going to throw it, I thought it would have been a mistake. So he did what needed to be done. I still think that the ball could have been caught. So he gave his wide receiver an opportunity.
Sure.
He did. He gave him an opportunity.
But and that's just one of these things. Again, this is being nitpicky, but that window, his ability to create windows with some of those pump fakes, some shoulder fakes. Sometimes he misses those windows, and I thought he missed a window.
He got spooked.
But he got spooked. But he waited for his guy to get over here on this side of the screen so that he could have a clear window to throw it to Andrews here. So yeah, very nitpicky, but that is just one play where he didn't throw it, where he probably could have had a better window to throw it to. And here's another one. Versus Georgia, you're going to see him.
I remember this play too. Yeah,
and this was a completion, and that's what I'm saying. Like, not every good play is always the right play mechanically or within the structure of the play design. And this is a play where he does complete. The placement's a little high to Andrews on the bottom there, but it's a really it's a nice completion. But when you talk about holding on the ball, Nate, and them wanting to push down the field, this is one of those plays where Baker did hold the ball here for a while.
And I think it maybe took him a little bit longer to process what the defense was trying to do to him. Yep. But if you look, I mean, they really stop at the 10-yard mark. Like, their defensive backs stop. And that creates – and I think what he should have done when he saw them on their heels and really stop at 10 yards is, where's my vertical route? Like, he needs to right away think, okay, these guys are – like, if you look, like, you could draw a line at the 10-yard mark from the line of scrimmage, and all of those defenders stopped. So right when I see that, and if you look at it, it looks like that happens right around his third step. My mind has to go immediately to that vertical, knowing that there's just no way they can defend it.
Yeah, and again, it's a nice completion, and obviously he hit his buddy there. But we'll look at it from the tight camera angle, and I put a timer on it just to give you an idea, because he actually holds the ball at some of the longest in all of college football. Again, part of that's the offense, but part of that is the play designs are so good that sometimes he does get caught up in his read, or his primary read. And so this play, it took over 3 seconds. It was 3.6 seconds for him to get to that third option, which in the NFL is too long now.
And that's an awfully clean pocket too. It is awfully clean. You're not going to really see, and that's a really good defensive line too. So kudos to the blocking scheme there, but you're just not going to get that much space. That's a huge pocket. I mean, he's got nothing in front of him or to the side of him.
Definitely. It's again a nice completion, but there are things he obviously can still work on. I'm going to let it roll here, and I'll let you kind of break down what happened here, because he misses this one deep. And again, his arm strength is plenty good enough to be in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's plenty, especially when you're trying to drive it deep. It is, but the timing has to be good. And this is one of those plays where he held it a little too long because of pressure coming into his face, and I think he missed the window here to drive it deep.
Me too. And when you looked at a couple of the other previous plays, and we showed a vertical route in his strengths where he threw the ball before he really crossed the face of his defender. And I talked about how Tyrod a lot of times doesn't make a throw like that. This is a similar case where the ball needs to be thrown before he makes that head fake to the right. He has to trust this play a lot more than I think he did. But you're right about the arm strength in that it's absolutely good enough to be in the NFL, but what it's not good enough to do is compensate for bad or poor timing. And in this case, you're seeing that. And that's not Baker Mayfield. It's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. It's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that these quarterbacks don't have good enough arms to overcome holding the ball too long or overcome bad timing on throws. So this is an example of that. But at the same time, is it a little nitpicky? Yes, but at the same time, It's a negative play. So you do want to see him throw that ball sooner. You want to see the ball come out sooner. There's no doubt about it.
And the part of the reason why he holds it here, and it's something that we've talked about a few times, is you'll see number 53 come across his face, and he does take his hand off the ball like he wants to let it rip right there. But because this defender is right in his face, he doesn't let the ball rip. He holds it just a half a second, slides to his left a little bit so that he could fully step into this deep throw, and the ball hangs. And that's one of those things. If he threw it when he let his left hand off that, I think he could probably drive this and complete it.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it just kind of comes down to a split second too late or too early,
Definitely. And so ball's on the right hash. You'll see him try to push it deep again here. And it's one of those plays. I mean, look at the receiver. The receiver is gone. This is a touchdown.
Yeah, and it goes to show you too, like that is poorly underthrown. That is just a very underthrown ball. And really, from the line of scrimmage, when he beat him off the line, that ball should have been in the air like when he hit the 40-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Like right down.
Yeah.
But he did a nice job of. Again, it's not all that late. It's just kind of a poorly thrown ball. This one, again, though, it could have been thrown a second early, but he's looking off the safety. And even though he doesn't even really need to do that because he was beat so badly. But
yeah, he just a little too much. I mean, I like him as a deep passer. I'm not worried about him as a deep passer, but little things like that in the NFL, it's going to be a difference maker. I mean, those are points off the board there. You know, he threw it a little too wide to the sideline and let the guy come back and make a play on it, and it's an incomplete pass instead of an easy 6 points. Yeah,
there's no doubt. And in the NFL, and especially in games like this against better defenses, those aren't the kind of plays you can leave out on the field.
Right. And we talked about him kind of staring down guys and how the plays are really, designed really well. And this is one of those plays from pre to post snap. The coverage changes. You're going to see this slot defender here. He's making it known that he's going to be staying with this number 2 wide receiver right here. But in actuality, when the ball snapped, what's he do? He jumps to the tight end here and just plays over the top, knowing that he's got a linebacker underneath. So they got him bracketed pretty well. And you see Mayfield just step up a little bit and just kind of let the ball sail. And this is something that happens a lot. You saw it on some of his completions that we gave him credit for. The ball will sail sometimes on him in the NFL. When you sail passes like this over the middle, they're going to end up in the other team's hands and likely in the end zone.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned it. It was sort of a mix-up for at least that probably on what he saw because pre-snap, I think he got the idea that he was covering number 2, and he quickly went to number 3, and it didn't register with him, and that's why he continued out because I think he probably thought pre-snap, I'm going to number 3 on this play, especially because I know him. We know the confidence level he has with Andrews, but with that pre-snap read, exactly, and I'm glad that you just highlighted him because that's the read on the play. Is once he gave up on number 2 to immediately turn his attention to number 3, number 2 becomes the easy and obvious target here because of where the defender is covering him 10 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it a little more, is he gives up a lot of these flat routes. I know this is a wide field throw. This would be a far throw, but that's a safer throw instead of trying to thread it, obviously with the guy in trail technique on Andrews and a linebacker underneath and then a deep safety over the top. So I thought that one, the processing pre to post snap was off, and obviously he sailed a little bit, but I'll give him a little credit, though, because you watch him here as he throws it deep. And you know what? It's his touch. It's still a pretty ball, but obviously just a little far. But I give him a little credit here at the end of this play. You'll see him hustle. You see him right here. He's not going to just let him score. He comes in and then lays into this linebacker, number 35 right there. and eventually pushes the defensive back out of bounds. So, and we're coming down to the end here. Again, another play where he's pressured, 3rd and 10, empty set with the ball in the left hash. And one thing you're going to see a lot of is he struggles with that pressure, that those blitzes from the secondary level. You're going to see the defensive linemen, they're all going to slant to the defensive left, and you're going to bring this linebacker from depth. So this is a tough read here because you're going to see this linebacker come from depth. Yep. And the defense is just going to drop in his zone. And this is tough read. This is a tough to diagnose. And he just, again, holds the ball too long. When he's got a crossing route coming across the field, get rid of it, get it to him. But instead, he takes the sack here.
I might even, and this is just me, but I might even try to go hit that vertical, knowing that if you look at the safety coming to the bottom of the screen here, he stops and he sort of washes him behind. And no, he's got the deep help, no doubt about it. But I think if it's thrown quickly, and in this case, if he recognizes that and throws it on time when he crosses his face, I think there is a window there. And again, when you look at plays, especially in the Big 12 against Big 12 defense, that is a window, that is an open throw in the NFL. You don't get a ton of these giant Big 12 windows everywhere. Right there, that's a window that I think you're going to see more so in the NFL than you would in college. It's a pretty tight window in college, but that's the norm in the NFL. So these are the types of throws that you want to see him notice. You just want to find the flat-footed defenders. And in this case, they're on the right side of the field.
Right, and you see him working that right side, the bottom of the screen there, and obviously it does look like they are trying to push the ball down the field because again, it's a 3rd and long situation. But
that, you're right about that crossing route though. If he hits the crossing route and just throws it behind him and lets his receiver make a play, I think that's probably the best read. But I guess my eyes just go immediately to the flat-footed defender, and that's just kind of how that's sort of the first thing I look at. But you mentioned he's looking deep to short. And sometimes, again, on this play, I think that maybe that hurts him. And you're talking about that backside post as well as being a potential possibility on this play too, especially because that safety commits to that slot on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, that's a full field read, and I know that doesn't happen a lot at the college level, but this is one of those plays, processing. The play is nice, and they love hitting that slot fade, that seam route down the field. But if it's not there, you got to move on past it. Give your guy a chance. Don't take a sack on that 3rd down play.
I don't know what the heck his offensive lineman was doing there either. He didn't do him any favors, that's for sure.
It was ugly. They hit the ball. They're sliding protection to the right, and you're going to see that linebacker come from depth, and he's kind of sneaking, waiting for that Baker to just waiting right in the pocket.
Is that Orlando Brown at left tackle there?
It should be.
Oh boy! If there's what's he doing? Oh man! If somebody puts that next to his combine video, that is going to be a nasty bloopers film. Oh, that's bad. So as you can see, I mean, a lot of strengths, a lot of weaknesses, but I think maybe Baker Mayfield's the best example of what this draft sort of embodies at the quarterback position. You see a lot of things you love, and there are some things that you do worry about on film. But the one thing that I don't think the film does justice with this specific prospect, Eric, is sort of mindset, is confidence in the big moment. This is not a player in which the moment is too big for. And I think when you look at the intangibles, the unteachable intangibles, he just has so many of them, and a lot of guys only have a couple of them. And he checks so many boxes of things that you can't
teach. Exactly what I would say. Yes,
you know what I'm saying. Like, he just checks boxes you can't teach, and those are the sorts of things that, especially pro scouts. That's why Josh Allen is so coveted this year by NFL people. It's because he has the things that you just can't teach, and Baker really sends it to another level.
Yeah, he's got the confidence. He's got that swagger. He's got the leadership on and off the field. Guys want to follow him. I know, especially teams like the Bills, they want that centerpiece and the guy that can lead their men into battle. And so he's got all those boxes checked. Of course, he's got the production. We all know that. And the thing is, he's done it over the length of his career. I mean, he had a long career, and he was productive every single year, and he progressed every single year. And that's what you want to see in your starting quarterback. So I do think he checks all the boxes, and regardless of where he goes in the draft, you're going to get a guy that's just going to be a leader. And so I think that he is definitely worth all the hype that he's getting right now, whether he goes top 10 or not. I mean, I don't really care, but I do think he has the production, the career, and the moxie that an NFL starting quarterback should have.
Yeah, and again, it really kind of goes down to those intangible things that you can't really assess on film. You can't really look at the stat sheet and say this guy does it. And I think maybe a lot of those tip passes, the things that we talked about, how he manipulates defense, those are things that only show up on film. There's no stat to show you how many times he's made windows bigger because of his manipulation. Like there isn't stats to show that. And I think it kind of goes into the people that watch film and use the analytics to help tell the story rather than one or just the other. And this is the sort of guy that I think you really do need to do your homework on. And if for what we all know right now is that this is a guy that I think Brandon Beane really likes, I think he is really, in my opinion, right now, it's either Rosen or Mayfield. And you can't lose with either guy. But if you're looking at what they bring off the field, both are sort of controversial, but the things that Baker brings in terms of leadership, I think that is really sort of where Josh Rosen leaves a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I like both of those players. I think that Baker, if he came to Buffalo, I mean, if we're talking about his fit in Buffalo, I mean, everything is perfect. Everything seems to line up. I know maybe the regime maybe doesn't like how boisterous he is or how
brash, right?
Yeah, how much smack he talks. Pregame, you see some of those videos on the internet or whatever, but I do think that he's what you look for in a quarterback. He's a 2-time walk-on. I mean, he's that blue-collar guy that had to earn everything. He didn't want anything given to him, and he's got that chip on his shoulder. I mean, this regime loves that story. There's no doubt about it.
And sort of to wrap things up, coming from a person who has coached, it may not be the college level, it may not be the pro level, but this sort of thing transcends age. It transcends levels of football. And you would rather have to coach a guy to turn it down than to have a guy that you need to motivate to turn it up a little bit. And if I'm a coach, I would much rather say, hey, listen, I need you to tone it down a little bit. I got a lot of people looking at you. You need to, right, exactly. You would rather be the coach that has to rein a guy back than to be the coach that's got to light a fire under a guy's ass. Because at this level, it's not on the coaches to get these guys prepared. It's on the players. And I think if you're talking about that part of the game, Baker Mayfield checks that box.
No doubt about it.
All right, so that's going to do it for our official draft breakdown here of Baker Mayfield. Keep an eye out on cover1.net for more work to come. Another busy week ahead of us as we really come down to crunch time. 4 weeks till the draft, and the work doesn't stop. So you can follow me on Twitter at Nate Geary, WGR. You can follow Eric and all the other Cover One staff at cover_1_ on Twitter. So for me, Nate Geary, Eric Turner, another edition of Cover One coming your way at cover1.net.